Have you been struggling with a body weight or self-image problem? Do you have pain in your body? Are you living with frequent colds or the flu? Or even worse, a diagnosed incurable disease? How would you like to hear that none of these issues are real? How would you like to hear that all of these problems are illusions, figments of your imagination, created by incorrect information and limited beliefs? In fact, it's my life passion and purpose to inform you that you don't have to live a life in lack or limitation any longer. I am here to say the poverty mindset can become a thing of your past. You can step into your abundance. You don't have to be controlled by fear or anxiety. You can fix or heal your relationships. You can raise up your energy. You can learn to love yourself. You can step back into the very best version of you. You can heal your life. It's totally up to you. It's your choice. It's your decision. You are the power that can do this. You are the creator of your life. Each and every single one of us has this power. We all have access to the infinite divine root energy that is available to each and every one of us. We can command and direct this power out into our lives. We all need to get the truth. We all need new information. We all need to overcome the brainwashing. Every one of us needs to stop the incorrect thoughts. We all must rise above the wrong, limited beliefs that we have accepted and allowed to form our current reality. The truth is, you have the power. You can lose the weight and keep it off for the rest of your life. The truth is that there is no pain or disease that is permanent. There is no circumstance that you are stuck in. You can overcome any situation that you wish to in your life. You can do it now. You can begin today. You do not need any pills. You don't need any potions. You don't need to buy any powders or any medications. You have everything that you need to change your life. Welcome to my weekly YouTube broadcast show about weight loss, about healing, and about improving performance in any aspect of your life. I'm your host, John DePass, the Melon Man.
Cranial nerves in the brain, that's in the gut.
So what you're saying is that we've been told all sorts of things to explain different feelings we have in our tummies. Like we've been told about hunger. We've been told to associate this feeling with hunger. We've been taught to associate this feeling with hunger. We've been taught to associate this feeling with stomach flu. We've been taught to associate this feeling with
a whole host of things. Some of them I can't remember anymore because I'm done thinking about it. Or, rolling that, am I hungry? Oh, am I bored? Bouncing this ping pong ball. And really, it's like, because it's so temporary, isn't it? The sensation.
I don't even really think I feel hungry. If I smell something that, that the smell makes me feel like, I'd like to eat that, but I don't really feel like, oh, I'm really hungry. I think I've just maybe that's gone from me now. Mm-hmm. The smell triggers me to want to eat. When I see it, I think it's more the smell. I don't really think it's as much visually.
The last time I bought a pizza, because I call it Mucus Mondays. You can have one day a week. You can be, indulge in the mucus.
Yes, I think so. We need that.
You need, yeah. And it was interesting the last time, and this is a couple of weeks ago, that the boys are just like, it looks the same, it smells the same, but it doesn't taste the same. They're shifting in their experience of, oh, pizza's so good. And then they're not having that same old relationship of what they perceived it to, oh, it's pizza. And they're like, it doesn't taste the same. It looks the same, but, that's where the looks and our habits, shift, they change.
You've got a good interaction and communication with your kids, with your family about the healing process, about the true healing process.
That vocabulary called eat. And I asked them what they want to taste.
Like it's a choice.
Yeah, totally. And then it also engages a new experience. Oh, what am I tasting now? Is it more sweet? Is it more savory? More experience. And more pleasurable, I think, versus just eating and not thinking. Because it is a thinking process. If you change the behaviors of your thinking.
And we've been told that we need to eat. And by telling your children this, that, it's like you're choosing to engage in, tasting today. It's not something that you have to do. You can indulge in tasting today if you like, or you can indulge in tasting right now if you like, or what would you like to taste right now?
Mm-hmm. And, it's taken a while for them to dialogue this personally for each individual boy. But, even with myself, I can just by changing, come to the table and eat something. Come to the table and taste something.
How many kids do you have? How many boys?
3 boys.
3 boys. And you were saying that epiphany was that it's really not hunger. It's really not stomach flu. It's, all of the things that you're associating with a feeling inside of your tummy that you feel like you need to eat. It's really potentially that it's a chakra. It's the solar plexus chakra that's maybe coming online or changing its energy or starting up or awakening up or slowing down or shutting down. And these things are just normal feelings that are associated with the chakra changing its energy.
The frequency.
Or frequency, and we're associating it with hunger. Oh, that's hunger, or that gurgling, that means I'm hungry, or...
Mm-hmm. Whereas, Rama shared this, when I met him the second time, that this sensation we feel below the belly button is more hunger because the bowels are empty. But anything above the belly button is associated with more of a thirst. And often we'll eat something before we satisfy our thirst.
So a lot of the time we're dehydrated and we're eating just because we're actually dehydrated. And if we actually hydrated ourselves, we'd probably be fine.
Yeah. Because the boys, forage in the kitchen. I'm like, are you really thirsty? Engage with your body. Are you thirsty? Are you really hungry? And then they, take a glass of water and they're like, yeah, I was really just thirsty. Then just have them develop this questioning of what they're experiencing for themselves, which, get to know thyself, right? And who does it better except ourselves?
That's super that you're already getting that sort of relationship with your boys. I mean, I have that relationship with my youngest son. I don't have it so much with my older 2 daughters. I think because they were a little bit older when I got into this.
Sure.
And then also, I think too, the difference in space between where I am and where my wife is, you know, they are more connected with their mother. I think because of the age that they're at, they're just not as connected with dad, and so they're more connected with mom. And mom, kind of coming my way a little bit more now, slowly, but was more resistant along the way. And I think that resistance should, you know, let my kids, my older daughters, be a little bit more resistant to the ideas as well too. So
yeah, I see that with my older son, but at the same time, he sees the changes or in myself that he observes. And that observation, he sees, questions his belief system that, it's all bad. I'm like, but I see these changes in my mother. And, you know, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, he had, you know, an issue and concern. He's like, do I put pee on it? And I said, shortest shortcut to healing. You know, he was something on his, you know, body, and he wanted to know if he could put this cream on it or that cream. And I said, you could. And he's like, pee would be the better result. And I said, try it. You know, you have the other products or things to back it up if that doesn't work, if you think it doesn't work. But if you choose to think it will work, it will. Because you know, water holds memory. This is what Dr. Emoto talked about for 40 years in his research. And like, you know, my conversation with him, just one question to confirm what he told me or I heard him say. And that is his belief of, if you want to call it God or Messiah, or however you choose to label something, but his belief as a Buddhist that God was water. And, you know, in my closet, I was thinking, I know urine's 95% water. Is he talking about the same water that's, you know, he's talking about water outside the body, but the water within. So I asked him, is that water that's within our body the same kind of conversation of what you said at the end of your conversation, your lecture? He felt that water was God, or what God is water, and why water is so misunderstood, not researched by any other people or other corporations.
okay, so those are some really, really super things that you said there. I want to flip back and talk about three of them.
Sure.
You talked about telling your son to put pee on his whatever ailment that he had on his skin. One, I love it that you have that type of relationship that you could say that to your kids. I mean, again, with my youngest son, I can say that and do that. With my two older daughters, I can't really say that. I can say, the other day, we were all sitting and I can't remember what it was, some sort of ailment, again, something like that. And I said, someone was sick, or someone was having some sort of sickness symptoms, like they're having a sore throat. And I said, well, we know what the solution is. That's all I said. And one of my daughters said, well, that's not an option for a solution. So, you know, they're not considering that. They're 14 and 15-year-old girls. Like, that's just gross, Dad. That's just gross, Dad. So, you know, I don't say it, but I can say that, and it can be understood, and they'll be like, oh, that's so sick, or, you know, but that's the extent of it. We can't really have a communication. They can't think it out and go, you know, whereas finally I am starting to get with my wife, but she wouldn't say that to my daughters yet.
Sure. She's got to test out the waters
herself. So until she gets to the point where she goes, you know what? I think you might be right onto something there.
Well, what happened to Bo is he probably he was out with some friends and he broke through the ice because they were playing on the ice. And his shoes got wet. So he came home and his feet were a bit cold. And I said, let's just put your feet in your urine and
warm them up.
Warm them up.
They can just.
And that sensation of frostbite or, frozen toes, because he described all of his toes were frozen. And I said, well, let's warm them up with your fresh urine.
Wonderful.
He did it.
A little fresh urine foot bath, which is so great for detoxifying the body. But you know what? I think what's a real big one there is that one, we're talking about having these types of conversations with our children. So in engaging that in our family dialogue, where we're starting to educate and change the paradigms that they've been brought up with and that they hear all around them, and make it comfortable to talk about pee as an alternative. And that's wonderful and important, and it needs to happen. And we don't create change until people start doing things like that with kids, right?
It's a new door. I mean, new opportunities, and they learn from their own experience, in which that just trims down that social conditioning that we've all been inundated with. And
that this is bad, or this is crazy, or this is not right, or this is dirty, and all of that's not true. All of that's not true. And let me just also add here, everyone is in their own place. Everyone is free to choose. That's what makes us most human, is that we have a choice. And some souls are ready to awaken in this lifetime, and some souls are not, and we can't change that.
No.
And it's their choice, right? They can awaken in this lifetime, or they cannot, and they can choose to or not. And sometimes it takes 10 or 10,000 lives before a soul is ready, that's gotten enough knowledge and got enough awareness that it's ready to awaken. And I can't change that.
Right. Neither can I. I mean,
nobody can.
Just got to be curious versus, blocking it. Oh, no. Just the curiosity will lead you if you're curious.
If you want to be curious, and if you want to learn, and if you want to open up the possibility that there could be a different outcome or a different life or a different circumstance available to you, if you wanted to explore that. But some people just don't want to explore it, and they just want to say no, and that's bad, and I'm not open to it. And you know what? To them, they have the right to be there as well too. My issue with them, those that are not ready to awaken, is just that they slam or they attack.
Yeah.
And that would be my issue with people for choosing to call it dirty, or to call it wrong, or
waste.
Because they haven't tried it.
Not having, that doesn't give them any experience and the choices.
And then the other part of that is, you haven't tried it, but then also, even if you do try it, but you've got like the mindset that you do have, if you hold that mindset when you engage in anything, the mind is a very powerful thing. So if you've got the wrong mindset while you engage in anything, you're blocking yourself with your mindset. So you have to maintain, like you said, that curious, open possibility type of mindset.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a game changer when you put down your guards, put down, our systematic social conditioning.
and that's just like being a child.
Mm-hmm.
And they say we got to learn from our children. We got to learn from young children. We got to be a child. We have to be playful like a child and just curious and open and with wonder and awe, like everything is a possibility, right?
Yeah, definitely. He wasn't excited about doing a foot bath with urine, but because instead of water, warm water, I said, this will absorb into your tissues and calm down the nerve endings, and your blue toes will turn back to pink. And next time, don't walk on the ice. I hope you learned all that now.
Okay, so now doubling back, you also talked about God is water. I just want to go on to that one a little bit. And I want to ask you a question. God is water, or is air water? Air God.
Air is water.
God is water.
There's water on a mountain. It's invisible. We can't see air. It's there.
H2O.
It's there. It's invisible. Can't smoke the shit. But you can breathe it. I've embarked with dialogues of at least from my perspective, we're all breatharians, just at different stages.
I think so. And
by unfooding,
yes,
closer to a deeper understanding of the value of how this functions. And it might not feel good, but it is detoxing. But the sad part is I see, or I hear how the symptoms are new labels, but they're just detoxification. And detoxification isn't comfortable. It's not thrilling, but as we embark, those symptoms become less and less. If we observe, instead of succumbing to, I have a fever, but the fever is a natural process of the body to kill off the bacteria or pathogens that are within the body causing the disruption. It's our medical sciences have given us that at a certain temperature it's dangerous, but that's not dangerous to the body itself. It's dangerous to the bacteria and the pathogens within the body that's causing an aspiration of the body not feeling comfortable. It's it's a funny labeling system that we've been thrown at that are natural, but then another side of it is that they say, oh, that's a disease, and really it's natural. And it's a natural process to go through the detoxification that we experience. And of course, we're all different. We're all having different experiences. I mean, all the flu is not the same.
Some people have a toxic pancreas, or some people have a toxic lung, or some people have a toxic stomach, or some people have a toxic colon, or some people have a toxic kidney, or some people have a toxic skin, or a variety, or a half toxicity here and a half toxicity there. So every single person has different symptoms and different circumstances and different situations that are associated with their detoxification. And so this is why it manifests in different pains, or different mucus running out of the nose, or diarrhea, or a headache, or
an earache with wax buildup, because that wax is coming from where? I mean, it's just how, even like having a sore throat is not really a virus, it's also a symptom of how the brain detoxifies, and we feel it here. We don't feel it here. We feel it in the throat as a dry, sore throat, but that's also a channel where the brain detoxifies and dumps to.
So lymphatic waste from the head is moving through and dropping down, and the acid waste is touching the larynx, the voice box, the soft tissues of the throat, and it's burning. The acid wastes are burning the throat. And we think it's a sore throat, it's a sickness, it's an illness.
Strep, one of the big...
Strep, it's strep. So I got to go and get an antibiotic. I got to go to the doctor and get an antibiotic, and then I take an antibiotic to kill the bacteria, and my body interacts with bacteria. My lymphatic system needs bacteria. My lymph nodes heal the body by interacting with bacteria. Now, if I kill all the bacteria in my body, I kill my immune system, and I throw my body all out of balance. I disrupt the bacteria balance in my intestines.
Your physical culture that lives within you, that you're bathed in it. They're part of our detoxification process. They eat something that maybe is not desirable in our body. They know this. That's why we call it an immune system.
So we need that bacteria, and if we're killing it with antibiotic,
that's our elixir of life. The Shivan Bhutla, the secret lemonade, has that culture to refeed it back, to rebuild it back to its full measure of strength.
So that's the magic of ingesting our own distilled water, is that it contains the bacteria that it's actually inside of our body, and it contains the profile in that if that bacteria is low or if that bacteria is high, the body gets the reference from ingesting the fluid again, and then recognizes this bacteria is high, this bacteria is low, and uses it to repopulate its own self. And this is the feedback loop. Like every other thing on the planet works on a feedback loop. Water gets evaporated, cools, and falls down to the earth. This is the loop. This is the system in that we interact with our world. The way we interact with our life is a putting out of energy and energy coming back. Everything on the planet works in this looping way.
It's mysterious. It's magic. Just as we can't see air, but our body utilizes it. And in the fasting process, Harry's talked about this on his 8-day fasting, how his body, he feels that his body is really utilizing his breath work that he's been playing around with, and feeling the energy, through an 8-day fasting. And where's that energy coming from? The ether.
And that's a big part of the magic of exercise. People say how exercise gives you endorphins, it gives you energy, you're taking in oxygen, because as you start to, exercise, you're breathing out carbon dioxide, you're detoxifying your body that way, but you're breathing in oxygen, and it's that movement of oxygen.
The prana. The prana feeds our soul, the solar plexus.
So we're breathing in God. God is in the air, and air is in the water. So God is in the water. God is in the air. God is in the water.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful relationship. And from my understanding, that there's a bond in power. To wrap our head around it, at least scientists are not giving us that, heads up of how that energy, that prana, is fueling our body. We're figuring this out on our own as we embark of the unfooding process, and listening. What does that make, as my body work that I do with the visceral manipulation, I'm listening to organs motility, the organs mobility, how it's functioning, how it's moving. And, with the practice, I'm listening to other people's organs, and, there's a frequency or a sound that the large digestive tract makes compared to the small intestine. And listening to the kidneys or the bladder, the prostate, the lungs, the liver. The liver's kind of quiet. It shows more emotion.
So you listen with what? What's your method?
Well, like my hands.
So you do Reiki or?
Visceral manipulation. I'm listening to the fascia tissue around an organ. And sometimes, like, fascia tissue can stick to itself or adhere to the muscle. So then the muscle can't move. It's kind of like being in a tight suit.
This is like blocked energy.
Yeah.
Energy blocks, emotional blocks, energetic blocks, psychological blocks. The detoxification process is, freeing up of, removing physical elements from the body, removing physical mucus from the body, removing live entities like parasites or fungus or candida or yeast from the body. And it's also about removing or changing energetic blocks, emotional blocks, energetic blocks, or thought psychological blocks. So removing the thought that I have to eat 3 meals and 2 snacks a day is a psychological thought that creates the habit of
just
eating. Mind control. Whether it was mind control, which makes us sound like conspiracy theorists. And you know what? So because I don't want to be labeled a conspiracy theorist, I say, you know what? We don't have to call it mind control. We can just say it's about profit. And the sheer profit is that businesses make money. Food companies make money by getting you to eat more food. And pharmaceutical companies make money by you being sick. So, it's profitable.
Detoxifications as diseases or symptoms of, they don't know what it is, but here's an antibiotic. That'll take care of it.
It's just straight, pure business.
Mm-hmm.
It's straight business, right? So whether we want to call it, mind control, which it seems to be to me, however, if you're not comfortable with the conspiracy theory, then just, money makes the world go round. And that everything's publicly traded. If the pharmaceutical company wants to make more money, they need you to invest more dollars in it. They need to turn a profit. And so they turn a profit by, engaging in more medications and in convincing you with more commercials that you need to take a medication in order to be well. And that couldn't be more further from the truth, because wellness is something that's inside of us. Mm-hmm. And we just need to come back to it, right? And recognize the psychological issues that we're holding on to that are keeping us unwell, the physical elements that we've got inside of our body that are making us unwell, the emotional blocks and energetic blocks that we've got inside of our body that are making us unwell. And we need to release and detoxify those poor thoughts, those poor energies, or, even poor energies is not really a great term, because it's not that they're poor. Frustration and anger is not poor. It's just lower vibration energy, lower frequency vibration. And if I stay in that lower frequency vibration, then I attract more of that lower frequency, vibration, and circumstance into my life. And if I want to, that's a choice. But if I want to awaken, awakening happens at a higher frequency or a higher vibration. And if I want to step into an awakened state, I'm going to have to
stay there. There's, levels. What's interesting, Cameron pointed this out when, after the pizza, I just want to share this, that he observed, which is a very, very insightful observation, when he was the next day, or actually for 2 days, he felt so thirsty.
After eating that.
Yeah, after eating that. And, and he's just like, he didn't like that sensation. Particularly he noticed it orally, not that the dry mouth. He's described not feeling thirsty, but he could feel the dry mouth for 2 days. So I just said, just sip water. Don't drink copious amounts of it. Just take sips, just, to rinse the mouth. And I suggested, and I always suggested to the boys, I said, if you're bored, go brush your teeth before you eat something. Well, I don't want to eat anything after I brush my teeth. I said, that's my point. And, that movement or that oral fixation of brushing just, it makes you feel clean, and why would you want to dirty your mouth? And it was just interesting how he observed or just complained, like, I don't like my dry mouth. Like, well, go brush your teeth, go swish some, urine would be ideal to swish in the mouth to help stimulate his digestive juices that are, the glands within the oral cavity of our mouth to moisten.
Now, we're just talking about water with your sons there. What type of water should we be drinking?
That's another good conspiracy to chat about. I personally, because Dr. Ramota talked about this in his lecture when I saw him, and because somebody asked, is distilled water better to drink than other waters? And of conversation, what's in the tap water to the bottled water. And he, of course, in Minnesota, where I do collect my spring water, he tested it 3 times. And those pictures are posted in his books with the pictures. And it does make a beautiful, pristine crystal snowflake. So I just went yesterday and collected about 50 gallons of water in 5-gallon containers that I have. And so the water goes through a coiled copper system. So the water is bacterially being cleaned. And then I use Shugnite also to help purify the water. And that's what I use, is a spring water.
So you're using a spring water with Shugnite and a bacteria detoxification.
Copper, is antibacterial when you place it in water. So like I make these little coils. Can you see that?
Copper coils, and you put that in your water to detoxify your water. Mm-hmm. So you use spring water and you detoxify it with copper. And
when the water is in a copper vessel, or like I just have a piece of copper in a crock where I have the water sits, as the 5-gallon container sits on top of the crock, and a small spigot's there to, release the water. But within the crock, there are my copper pieces, which there's lots of online information how copper is, copper water is very very beneficial to the body.
So Dr. Emoto used spring water with his study?
Most of this water that was collected from, he differentiated like mountain water, spring water to lake water. I mean, he was all over the earth collecting different varieties of water.
And testing them and seeing.
And so here in Minnesota, where I'm at, he came many times and lectured about how one particular spring that's close by to me that he tested many, many times. And so it just clarifies his knowledge and experience, what, you know, as he tested like city waters from all around, and all of them came up with a distorted figure of a snowflake, or not even forming into a snowflake because the vibration of that water was so low.
So don't drink the tap water?
He advised it that way, yeah. I don't drink from a toilet, do you?
No.
But he talked about when the distill process, which I can understand that many people may not agree with that, but it's processed. It's getting an electrical charge because most distillers you got to plug in. Which then that electrical charge, EMF, perhaps is not so good to put in the body.
And what about the natural rainwater? Is that distilled water?
Well, in the aquaponics system that I have, we collect the rainwater because I don't want to put the city water that's available in my system. And I just put in probably close to 700 gallons the other day because the melt unthawed the tank. That's because it's warming up, so I could put a big dump of water in. And I tested that water, and it was exactly 6.5, 6.4, hovering around in there by the scale of the little water testers that I have. And
you're talking about the pH of the water?
Yeah, pH of rain ranges from 6.4 to 6.6. So
slightly acidic, slightly negatively charged, and that's beneficial for detoxifying the body. Like distilled water is 7. Mm-hmm. So slightly acidic in comparison to the pH of the cells of the body. And this is what we need. We need to have our water to be slightly acidic. The idea of alkaline water or the idea of mineralized water, heavily mineralized water, that those things allow the water to be more alkaline, but more alkaline is not better for water. Water is for cleansing the body, and hydration of the body is the fruits and vegetables. But if we use more a slightly acidic or water that is negatively charged slightly, then that attracts the positively charged ions that are toxic and dead and inert inside of the body, because it's a negatively charged ion that allows the body to move cellular electrical impulse, nervous impulse. The cells have to depolarize and move an impulse from one cell to the next, and that takes an ion, electrical charge, a current. And so the water has to be, we have to bring into the body a current, and that comes in with oxygen when we breathe in, and when we drink a negatively charged water rather than an alkaline water or a positively charged water. So we have to have that negative, because that negative is got a little bit of movement or electrical current or life to it. Current is a little bit of a negative charge.
Dr. Emoto expressed that the waters that were living in nature held a nice negative charge. But he specifically went after a realm of the conversation is that our municipal water is not living because they've processed it.
And put chemicals into it.
Oh yeah. But the living waters in nature are like of our body, because the city water or medicinal water is not living because they've had to process it. So it actually has a positive charge. And that positive charge, because our body is a negative charge, it's polar opposites, but where it's not actually satisfying what our body needs.
So our body, when we have a lot of positively charged chemicals in it, those positively charged chemicals are dead.
Energy.
They're dead. They're inert. They're inert. They cannot move. They cannot move energy. So we need that negative charge to move energy. Negative charge is active and moving, and the positive charge is stable and solid and grounded. It's not moving. It's dead.
A positive charge can't work without the negative. If you've got a positive and a negative, if there's no negative, this positive charge doesn't do anything. It's the yin yang.
We need both. We need both.
Just like the male and feminine, female. The word has both feminine and male qualities. But of course, that takes us into whole other rabbit hole, and we won't even go there.
Male and female?
Yeah. Who came first? Some books tell us different from what we know.
Yes. Yes.
Well, no, when I thought about this, this is a long time ago, but, when I traveled and I went to a lot of museums in Europe, and, they depict Adam and Eve, and I was like, how does he have a belly button? Why does he have a belly button? Where did that come from?
Had to be in the womb first.
Whose womb?
Only the female energy has the power to bring human to life.
Definitely.
Only the female energy has that ability.
Yeah.
Right. That's important. And yet the world is so masculine. Masculine dominated.
Stifle the feminine energy.
Hold it back, right? There's inequality and incorrectness all around the world. It's women, it's culture, it's religion, it's food. There's a lot of incorrect information that we've been fed. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate, but it holds the world in this place.
Contradiction is so vast. It's very confusing to dissect truth, because there's always hidden truth in the confusion. It's just a matter of recognizing it. If you hear it, if you're able to have the ability to see it, it comes to you.
And you can see it, I think, if your soul is ready to awaken, then you can see it. But if your soul's not ready, then you don't see it, and you think that's conspiracy theory. Now, you know what? Again, I don't like to get into the conspiracy. I like to talk more about profit, because I think that, that makes it less be about somebody trying to hold me down. It's more just about dollars. And we all understand how dollars make the world go round, and profit makes the world go round. However, I really don't know, if there's this Illuminati or not. I don't know. I say that the powers of good and evil, the powers of yin and yang, the powers of positive and negative have been on the planet forever. It's nothing new. It's always been. And we cannot have one without the other. We cannot exist only in the positive. We cannot exist only in the negative. We need both. It doesn't move the current energy. It's balance. And so, in order to awaken, the soul needs to recognize both, needs to see both, needs to see the lies and the truth. It needs to be in the lies and awaken and say, oh, but there is an alternative, and accept the lies, because the lies have taught me to see and recognize the truth. So we wouldn't even be able to move into the truth, into the light, if we didn't exist first in the dark, in the pain, in the illness, in the disease, in the sickness, in the divorce, in the separation, in the whatever we're existing in, the poverty. If we didn't choose and live and exist in the poverty, or see the poverty in some parts of the world, we wouldn't know how wonderful we had it. And if we didn't feel the sadness and sorrow and pain, then we wouldn't
They're just
appreciate
emotions. They're temporary emotions. They pass, and they pass to us a lesson. But sometimes that's rejected. And we miss then that opportunity of a learning lesson, because we've, run down in a direction that doesn't provide both levels of keeping a balance.
But then, that comes down to choice and responsibility. Like, we are responsible for our poverty. We are responsible for our pain. We are responsible for our loving relationship. We are responsible for our happiness. We are responsible for our sadness. But people don't want to take that responsibility. They want to blame their job, the economy, their partner, they want to blame society. They want to blame the government. They want to blame anything outside of the self and not accept responsibility, because it's a lot of work to recognize that I'm creating it. I'm putting out the wrong energy. That's why I'm getting the wrong thing back. I don't want to accept that. I want to say it's her. It's him. It's them. It's them.
There's
right.
nothing wrong with me.
Right. It's them. It can't be me. I don't want that. It's not about wanting or not.
Attracted to you.
It's not about wanting it. It doesn't matter if you want it or not. It's how you're responding to your life. If you're responding with sadness and sorrow and anger and blame, then what are you going to get?
The results are the same.
The results are going to be the same. So, we've been talking a lot about, we talked a lot about pee-pee today. And I don't think we've said, not in this conversation, although we have spoken before, first of all, how long have you been involved or engaged with your pee?
Well, secretly, in the closet for 40 years.
40 years.
Now out for the last 6.
Out of the closet, openly telling people about this for about 6 years. 40 years in the closet about drinking, engaging, putting it on your skin.
But I've always, had a glass, somewhere hiding, because I knew that's I saw Rama play with, or engaged in drinking, or adding it to his fresh urine. These are the things I saw.
So I think you said it right there. Like, we got to talk about that, Rama. Like, who's Rama?
He was just a neighbor's guest at their house. And, I didn't know who really Rama was or either. It was to me, my memory is he did funny things in the backyard. I had never seen before. Most people never seen before.
You were a child and you saw Rama doing funny things in the backyard.
Mm-hmm. Sitting all day in one place, not moving. And what is he doing? He's doing nothing, in my mind's eye. But as now, he was meditating.
Meditation's important.
Yeah. So I didn't get any explanation. I just had to like, okay, he did that, several times, and like, what's he doing? Looking from my backyard to it over where he's at, and like, he's doing nothing. And then, some days he would do something, and like, what's he doing today? He was doing some exercises and some yoga, or it was, putting up a little tent and doing some enemas. But I didn't know what that was, but, I know what I saw, but no explanation to go with it except for exploring what clues, he gave me when I met him the second time. And they're just a few books. I always wondered as I was reading every book, a dozen times, 100 times, and like, why didn't he give me a urine therapy book? Why didn't he give me one? Maybe there wasn't one in print, or one that I could read and understand.
You said he was doing enemas in the tent. So enemas are a part of this meditation, is a part of this exercise,
Cleansing.
is a part of this.
Part of cleansing.
All of this is all part of healing, physical healing, removing the toxic elements from the body. It's all part of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he didn't tell me what he did, but, I know I can remember he had put a bucket above the tent. So what's in the bucket? Well, this is a stretch of your imagination. I mean, one of the books, I don't have it with me here because I gave it to a massage client to read, and it's Dr. Bernard Jensen's book, Cleansing Through Tissue Management, cellular tissue management. And it's all about enemas.
Dr. Bernard Jensen, very linked to Dr. Morris. Dr. Bernard Jensen, a teacher of Dr. Morris. Dr. Bernard Jensen, originator of the, what's that?
Dr. Jensen is originator of that.
Dr. Jensen.
Yes, that's where Dr. Morris learned from Dr. Jensen.
Dr. Jensen, right.
Dr. Jensen, I think, I don't know this, but, I know that Rama read eyes. He read mine.
What's that called? Eye reading.
Iridology.
Iridology.
No, we call it earology, but it is.
Iridology. Right. Yes, the study
So I
of
think
looking in the eye there.
To learn also from Dr. Jensen. The same. But what's interesting in the book, there's a cross section of the small intestine in the book, one of Dr. Jensen's books. And what Rama had done in the book that he gave me, he made an eye picture around the cross section of the small intestine, which then looks just like our eye, the small intestine. Where it's black, that's showing a process of the gut not actually working correctly because the impacted material is blocking how we absorb or how that food communicates to our body. But if it's not receiving it, it's just going to pass it through or not collect that information. Does that make sense?
So we've got to clear up the blockages and the congestion that's in our bodies. Congestion and constipation.
Within our tongue, we have taste buds on there. There's little things growing it, little tentacle taste buds within the small and large intestine.
The villi.
Yeah.
Villi.
Yeah, there you go. That's the word I was looking for. But I was like, I'll just flow with it. So some of that materials, the mucus that builds up, blocks that material of information, whatever we put in, if it's all the superfoods, but if the gut isn't clean, it's not absorbing those nutrients properly in the vast, versus, one should only maybe have about 5 or 6 goji berries a day, not a cup. It's not necessary, but that's too much. But our today's bodies, the way they've been impacted with various, blockages, that, we don't receive that much information from a cup of goji berries when it really is just a few.
we only need a few, but because we're so toxic and our villi are filled with toxic elements, mucus and plaque, that they can't absorb the nutrient that they need. And so we need to take in copious amounts of...
They should be able to collect, but that's, again, everyone's digestive tract has been burdened. I mean, we just need to, put on the brakes and reverse process the detoxification of this system so that it can properly function. I think a lot of people have dysfunctional bowels, digestive tracts.
So common, right? Congested, constipated, or so blocked up that we can't absorb, so malnourished. So we end up being skinny, and we appear as though we're healthy because we're skinny, but we're really malabsorbing, malnourished because we're skinny. So that just because you're skinny doesn't mean that you're not toxic. You can be overly toxic, and that's why you're skinny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I won't get into that. That's a whole nother conversation.
The topic is so big that...
I'll just drop a line. How did that fungus get in our body to do that?
Fungus and candida and yeast and parasites are inside our bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're gifted them.
Yeah, we have them. We've just gotten them out of balance because we've taken back antibiotics and steroids and things that have put those things out of balance. And so the negative bacteria have proliferated and grown to be too much inside of our body. So we have too much candida and too much yeast and too much fungus and too much parasite. And they've grown to the point that they are now taking over the system, and they actually are controlling the appetite and making us eat more and causing athlete's foot, which I had for 32 years.
Wow. That's how your body was just trying to, even though you probably tried many things to get rid of it, but it never
But I took steroids for 20 years. But I took antibiotics numerous times. I destroyed my system with antibiotics. I had acne when I was 15 to 19. I had so much acne that I took tetracycline. They gave me tetracycline, and I doubled the dose when it stopped working, and then doubled the dose again when it stopped working. So I destroyed my guts. And then I took steroids on top of that for 20 years. So my whole system was completely wrecked. And the fungus and the candida and the yeast and the parasites just overgrew in my system.
It was out of control.
out of control. And as I moved towards raw foods, which grow in the ground and grow from the light of the sun, which grow from the rainwater, which is distilled water, which grow distilled waters inside of them. As I ate the distilled waters and the energy of the sun, as I brought the energies of the sun and the distilled water into my body, it detoxified my body. It started to shift my body. And as I went more and more fasting and fruiting and fasting and fruiting, I eliminated the toxins from my body, because health is not about bringing nutrient in. Health is about getting the blockages of the congestion and the constipation and the low energy and the yeast and the bacteria and the parasites out, or bringing them back into a normal, healthy balance inside of our body, because health is inside of us.
I know that in our last interview, I talked about we're a compost bin. We process these materials, but when we burden with too many materials, the meal eating 3 times a day, that
vitamins and minerals, because that's what makes us healthy. We need to get these superfoods. We need to get these vitamins. We need to get these minerals, all to be healthy.
If we're full to the brim,
3 meals a day plus snacks, because we got to get our vitamins. We got to get our minerals. We got to get. An incorrect thought, a psychological toxin, an incorrect thought, a psychological toxin, an emotional toxin, a physical toxin.
The buying power that the companies,
profit
from.
Profit. Some people are profiting at our demise.
In this book here of the human chemistry and wonders of the body, this is written in 1921, 18, the first one, and he talks about, George Carey talks about the synthetic process underway.
Between 1910 and 1920 is revolutionary time. This was when the allopathic model came into existence and took over. Between 1910 and 1920, that's when Albert Einstein figured out the theory of relativity and quantum theory and quantum mechanics. The entire world transformed at this time. And the power of allopathic medicine changed. And the financial system changed. Everything changed between 1910 and 1920. If you can get books that are written in 1910, Dr. Arnold Ehret, The Mucusless System, if you can get the knowledge from doctors of that time, you'll see there's numerous ones. Hilton Hotima talks about all of them. If you get the knowledge and information from that time, if you see the information and knowledge that Albert Einstein discovered with his light work, that the conscious intent of the experimenter changes the outcome. 100 years ago, it was discovered that it was intention that creates a different outcome inside of the body. So healing needs to be a choice. You have to intend it. You have to want to heal. You have to believe that you can heal. If you believe that pee is bad for you, you'll never, ever realize the value of your own distilled waters.
What's this?
What is that?
Like a resin pyramid that people make. But this is concrete. Concrete needs to be mixed with what?
Water.
What's the other water that you...
Sand, earth.
Well, yes, you're right with the right answer. First answer was water.
Water.
This is mixed with urine. My urine. A high-tech pee device.
You made a physical concrete pee
device.
So you can hold it, so you can touch it, so it can sit.
So there's a crystal in here, copper, just like when people make resin cloud busters or EMF busters, you want to call it.
So the air in the room is circulating around it. It's in your room. It's a physical entity in your life that's not smelly like pee-pee.
Doesn't smell. Concrete don't smell. It's just
right.
Like
but it's around in your in your life, in your family room. It's around. It's something. It's a physical entity inside of your space that brings positive energy, your own positive energy.
And they're just like, what do you got in your house? Because she's very energy sensitive. And she's like, you don't have what my house has. And like, I said, I've been putting these around the house. Amplifying, because I used also my children. So each of their device is by their computer. Resonating information just specifically to their body, just as mine does to my body. It's resonating from it.
So what are we talking about here? We're talking about detoxification. I call it distilled water detoxification. Detoxification and unfooding, because when we unfood, we allow the system to rest, we allow the body to heal, we allow the body to come to stillness. It comes to be most still. And it's in stillness, in meditation, that the body heals. It's when the body's resting, when all the energy can be diverted to healing rather than diverted to digestion. So it's unfooding, fasting, dry fasting, distilled water fasting, urine fasting, and it's detoxification, fruit, raw food, emptiness, shifting in this direction, recognizing it doesn't happen overnight. You may move to the keto diet first. You may move to the vegan life. You may move to the raw vegan life. You may move to the fruitarian. Slowly and surely, you're reducing the amount of food that you're taking in. I call it unfooding.
Yeah, same here.
This is the way. This is the natural, raw way. It's the only way to heal the body. Medications don't heal. You take insulin forever, you'll never get rid of diabetes. If you take the cancer treatment, most people die. It kills you. You can't heal something with acid. Medications are acid. Don't take medications. Take natural, live, raw foods or stay empty. That's how the body heals.
It knows. We may physically not know, but our body knows this thing.
And the urine contains the information.
For free.
Contains our information. We drink it for free. We drink it for free, and it puts the information into our body so our body can heal itself. Don't be afraid of your urine. It's good for you.
Never be afraid of it.
Rosalind, I have to run. I've got someone downstairs waiting for me and calling out to me. I've got to run. But I love our conversation today. I really appreciate our conversation today. I will upload it shortly, and I will share it with others. It's very important that people around the world get to know that they can heal and change their lives.
For free.
For free.
With their pee. Woo!
With their pee.